I've been dubbed many names by many people. A ruler, a conqueror. Some of us. New worlds meant only one thing, new lands to be conquered into all-out war. Each variant fighting to preserve their universe and annihilate the others.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my full Loki Kang explainer video, just explaining every version of Kang that was teased during the finale and what they're going to be doing in the MCU going forward. Thankfully, Jonathan Majors' He Who Remains version of Kang pretty much explained the roadmap of what's happening next. They did a pretty good job of explaining his backstory in the MCU and how he's sort of been around this whole time, but we haven't known about him till now. Metaphorically and literally, the man behind the curtain, so to speak, to make a Wizard of Oz reference. So if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. This is just the beginning. Obviously, what they did on Loki is going to affect all of the future Marvel Phase 4 movies and the Disney Plus series. Careful for spoilers, if you have not seen the Loki episodes yet, we'll be talking about everything. But during the finale, they call this version of Kang He Who Remains. That's originally who Jonathan Majors was cast to play. Interesting fact, too, they actually said that they contacted him about playing He Who Remains first before he was cast in Ant-Man 3 Quantumania as Kang the Conqueror. So originally, the He Who Remains character was not supposed to be a Kang variant. It wasn't until later when he went to audition separately for Ant-Man 3 Quantumania for the Kang role that they liked him so much that they just decided to combine the character of He Who Remains with Kang the Conqueror. So this whole huge plot in Marvel Phase 4, Marvel Phase 5, arguably however long Kang remains in the MCU, all started in a completely different way. They just felt like he was so fantastic, they're like, okay, well now he has to be all the versions of Kang. And that is the idea, even though there will be some twists on that, which I'll get to when I talk about the Iron Lad version of Kang. Like, there are other versions of Kang that look different. But this He Who Remains version is kind of like the Immortus version of Kang, the final version, final boss form, most powerful, wisest version. He's one of the lesser evil versions, which he kind of explains during the episode. Like he says, if you think that I'm bad, if you think that I'm the devil, wait till you meet all my variants. You have no idea how bad it'll get. This is a version of the character that's lived for millions of years, and that's kind of what he explains during the episode. I've lived millions of lifetimes. Just because of the way he manipulated the sacred timeline, his own timeline, to loop around on itself. So when he tells Loki and Sylvie, I've had many names, I've been a conqueror, I've been a ruler, he's basically telling us that he's technically been every single version of the Kang character from the comics at different points in his millions of years long lifetime. And I will explain all those different versions because the way they presented them in the comics, they were just alternate versions of Kang who just came back with different identities. Like he would adopt a different identity when he would come back, and sometimes they would be from alternate universes.
Mr. President, I'm Rick Sanchez, but not the one that did this. We Ricks travel the infinite and switch places with each other like hermit crabs, I think.
But if we're talking about the classic versions from the comics, he is closest to Immortus. In the way that Jonathan Majors' He Who Remains explained his backstory, he is the original variant, the prime Nathaniel Richards. In the way that the version of Loki who died during Avengers Infinity War is meant to be the prime Loki of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And all the other Lokis that we meet during the series are versions who were born differently like Sylvie, or who did some really WTF thing during their lives to create Nexus events, like Kid Loki killed his version of Thor, or in the case of Alligator Loki, it's kind of implied that they did something really crazy and got permanently turned into an animal. But this version of Kang started life, his original life, as Nathaniel Richards Prime, born in the 31st century. He's also a distant descendant of Reed Richards' father, who was also named Nathaniel Richards and was also a time traveler. So he is loosely related to Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. But he was the first variant of the multiverse to discover how the multiverse worked, how alternate timelines worked. He calls it other universes stacked adjacent to his own universe. And even though it sounds kind of confusing when you talk about the difference between alternate realities, alternate dimensions, alternate timelines, alternate universes, the way the MCU categorizes them, they're all kind of the same thing. For instance, when these branching timelines move past Redline, they start to function as fully alternate universes. Then when he says he first traveled to the nearest alternate universe, he meant an alternate version of himself that looked exactly the same. They discussed the minor differences in their universes, and eventually more variants of him started doing the same thing, and they were all cool with each other, forming what you would call the first Council of Kangs. There's two different versions of that pop up. The second version is the same thing with just a different group of Kangs. So you have different groups of them forming together. It's not like all of them form a single council of Kangs. But the way he explains it on the Loki TV show, that first council was just a bunch of Nathaniel Richards coming together as scientists. None of them had adopted any of the crazier comic book villain identities yet. They shared technology from each of their universes and used that to help all their universes, but as more and more variants started popping up from newer and newer branch timelines, newer alternate universes, some of those alternate versions started going around, quote-unquote, conquering their own universes, then trying to conquer the other universes. And that's where you get to the first multiversal Kang War. Our Nathaniel Richards Prime eventually discovered Alioth, who was created from all the dimensional tears in reality caused by the multiverse war. He says he went a little dark, like he experimented on it, weaponized it, and he gets kind of really angry and excited when he's talking about them. I ended the multiversal war. Because Alioth is able to consume entire realities, he uses Alioth to go around and basically eat all the other universes except for his own. Then he turns his timeline into the sacred timeline, then creates the TVA to prevent branch timelines that would lead to dangerous versions of himself, dangerous variants, from coming into existence again. The MCU, as you've experienced it so far in all the Marvel movies, the Infinity Saga of movies, has taken place inside the sacred timeline. There is a multiverse that exists inside the sacred timeline, but it's only the subset of alternate universes where dangerous versions of Kang don't rise up. So that's how you have the Doctor Strange movie where the Ancient One is taking him on the tour, talking about the multiverse. So it existed before this, it's just that in all those other universes, other dimensions, there aren't evil versions of Kang. Otherwise, He Who Remains would have had the TVA clip those branches, so to speak. So after he does that, then he just orchestrates things managing the TVA for millions of years and essentially aged up into the Immortus version of Kang, the final version, who controls all of time. And during the episode, the reason why he kind of wants Sylvie to kill him, why he's happy to be killed, although he kind of doesn't care either way, is just because he's tired. Like, he wants someone to either take over or get rid of him. In the comics, a version of him actually does that with Renslayer, sort of like the Immortus version of him hands over the reins of his entire time empire, Chronopolis, to Renslayer. So when we see this Kang statue, the different one in the TVA after Loki gets sent back, it implies that when Sylvie killed He Who Remains Kang, the timeline restarted like he said, the multiversal war played out again in the future, but a different Kang wound up winning the war, isolating his timeline, then creating the TVA. The showrunner or the writers said it's meant to feel like a very Twilight Zone kind of ending, like WTF, wait a minute. But as Loki comes running up to this version of Mobius and Hunter B-15, they explain whatever they're in the middle of right now, whatever crisis, there are 65 branches going past Redline. So it sounds like when this scene is happening in the TVA, they're still in the middle of a huge fight with a bunch of alternate universe versions of Kang. So I think the idea is that they're just showing us that the multiverse war plays out during many different points in the timeline, and we're going to see that play out in future Marvel movies and Disney Plus series and during Loki Season 2. So for instance, the version of Kang the Conqueror that Jonathan Majors is going to play during Ant-Man 3 Quantumania will be a different version. I'll talk about that in a second too, because there are like the prime versions of characters, and then you have like the really crazy alternate universe versions. These are all the biggest versions that we'll probably see either referenced or actually see them like physically on screen, played by Jonathan Majors. But first there's Rama Tut. He's not the first version of Kang, but he is the first version that popped up in the comics. In his original timeline, a version of Kang takes Doctor Doom's time travel platform from the 20th century, sort of reworks it, steals it, uses it to conquer his own home time of the 31st century, then travels back in time, setting himself up as a pharaoh in ancient Egypt called Rama Tut, and makes his ship look like the Great Sphinx. There was a brief Easter egg for that when they drove past the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid of Egypt during episode 5. Like, this was all obviously foreshadowing the big Kang reveal. Then there was the Scarlet Centurion. That was a version of Kang who was inspired by Doctor Doom in present day to create a new special armor suit. He traveled back to present day using this special will-sapping beam to mind control the Avengers into believing that there was no hope for the future, so just give up, I'm trying to help you, just do what I say. There's the Mr. Griffin version of Kang, and this is actually where the big Kang Industries Easter egg from episode 5 comes from, where it says Kang Industries on the Stark Tower, the Avengers Tower. This is a version of him that got stuck in the 21st century, and instead of waiting 2,000 years to get back to his own time, the long way round, he just decided to conquer present day using the guise of a corporation, creating Kang Industries. Then there was the Victor Timely version of Kang. It's a similar concept to the Mr. Griffin version, only it was a longer con. He goes back to the early 1900s, creates a corporation called Timely Industries that then grew very powerful by present day of the Avengers. There's the Iron Lad version I know everyone's hoping to see because we know we're building up to Young Avengers with all the big Disney Plus characters. He started as a child version of Nathaniel Richards, who was being picked on by bullies. An older version of himself comes along to save him, saying, "Look who you become. You become Kang the Conqueror, this very powerful warlord in the future." He tries to turn him evil ahead of schedule before he becomes an adult, but young Nathaniel Richards decides that he wants to be good, steals time travel gear from the older version of himself, goes back into the past, and sets himself up as Iron Lad, trying to be a hero. Eventually, he goes off declaring that he's going to become the best version of Kang, a good version of Kang, and eventually winds up turning into Kid Immortus. So Kid Immortus is kind of like an Iron Lad spin on the Immortus character. Then there's the Kang from the Ultimate Universe, Ultimate Kang the Conqueror. This is actually the first female variant of Kang, like a Sylvie twist. But in this case, it's actually a version of Sue Storm from the Fantastic Four that winds up becoming Kang in the future. Then there's Kamala Kang, which is another twist on the female Kang variant. She's a version of Kang combined with Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, from a reality where Gamora used the Infinity Stones to fold reality on itself and a bunch of characters got combined with each other. Then there's the concept of Kang Prime. So he's actually meant to be the first comic book version from where all the other versions of Kang popped up. So the way that they use him in the MCU, this He Who Remains version, he's kind of like the Kang Prime. But what they might do is they might just say that Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man 3, that version is the Kang Prime, the first evil version who tried to go around conquering the universe. He's also the version that created the Damocles base, the big sword-shaped time ship. He commands this giant army of scarabs and foot soldiers, so it sounds like that's going to be the version that we see during Ant-Man 3 Quantumania. Then I'm not really expecting them to do this version, but it is this really crazy amalgam version of Kang. He's called Doom the Annihilating Conqueror, and it's a version of Doctor Doom from a Fantastic Story where they were using his time travel platform to combine each other's powers from different universes, and Doctor Doom uses the process to give himself all the powers of Kang the Conqueror and Annihilus at the same time. Because obviously we're heading into Ant-Man 3 Quantumania, Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness, the reason why the quantum realm is so important to this is because of the way they use time travel during Avengers Endgame. They sort of canonized the quantum realm, quantum energy, as the key to traveling to alternate universes and traveling through time. So even though they don't say it during the episode, it's implied that this version of Nathaniel Richards Prime, He Who Remains Immortus, is using quantum energy to power all of his technology. They'll probably make that a little bit clearer when we get to Ant-Man 3. Also, just building more connections between Kang and the other Ant-Man characters, don't be surprised if Janet Van Dyne knows who Kang is when he shows up because of his association with the quantum realm, traveling the multiverse, time travel. The fact that Janet Van Dyne lived for so long in the quantum realm and knows all about the quantum city and the other beings that live down there, she would have probably encountered him at some point. Also, another big link, a lot of his technology is based on previous technology that was iterated on by Iron Man, for instance. Like we talk about Doctor Doom's time travel platform that Kang uses in the comics, they'll probably substitute Iron Man's time travel platform for the MCU version of that. Even Kang's TemPad wrist device looks a little bit like the design language of Iron Man's time travel wrist device. But the idea is through Marvel Phase 4, Loki Season 2, all these big multiverse movies, all the Marvel characters, including Loki, will be trying to sort out the chaos and all the changes to the timeline that these Kangs from alternate universes are trying to perpetrate. The big explainer that Miss Minutes gave in episode 1 about it leading to the collapse of all reality, that was not a lie. So that is the threat of this big giant multiverse Kang war, the collapse of everything. What'll happen though is when we see these alternate Kang variants pop up in the different Marvel movies and different Disney Plus series, I'll do new explainer videos for those versions too, because the idea is that they'll have slightly different backstories in their own timelines, their own universes, but they'll be somewhat similar to our version of Kang that we just saw as He Who Remains. In the next big Marvel series is going to be What If. My episode videos for that will start posting in a couple weeks, so make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel so you don't miss any of those episodes. I do like the idea that all these branching timelines you see in the Loki finale as this is all happening are creating the episodes of Marvel's What If, like a lot of the variants will pop up from these different universes. Congratulations, Bo Carranza, you're the giveaway winner from my last big Marvel video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone click here for my new Loki Episode 6 alternate ending and deleted scenes video, and click here for my full Loki Episode 6 finale video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.